Well, I first wanted to say thank you both for taking some time out of your afternoon to hop on here and do this. This is the first time I've ever done this kind of thing with a round table discussing film. I think obviously it's a passion for all of us. I mean, I've found both of you all over the last month or so because your all's approach is very similar to my approach, which is discussing film, talking about film, maybe not talking about the things that everybody's talking about, like everything that's on Netflix or hitting the theaters, whatever. It's like some of the old timey movies and some of that stuff and the things we grew up with and some nostalgia and I think that's what drawn me to your all's channels. I think we're all also around the exact same age. So that also helps. So we have some very
Mm,
similar life experiences with that. But
mm,
I'll start with you, Mike. Uh, kind of, I think you've been doing it for maybe a year ish or so. Maybe I could be wrong, but I don't think you've been doing it a whole long time. So, kind of,
yeah.
how did you kind of go from maybe a watcher or an observer to actually making content?
Well, I mean, I started my YouTube channel like back in like 2009 or something, but I barely got on there until about a year ago. I started watching, funny enough, I started watching a lot of like the people that do urban exploring, like going into old buildings and stuff. And eventually, it turned to movies. Like I started finding some like movie content channels, and I guess the bug just took me then because I was just like, I could do that. you know I don't know how good I would be, but I think I could do that just for fun. I got some movies laying around, and so it pretty much started in, I think, February, March, around the time that COVID started out. I think I shot my first video about 3 weeks before everything went down. So, um, and been going from there. So it's just been a trial by error, I guess. And I mean, I think some of my videos are better than others, but I like to keep my videos just kind of free form, just turn it on and talk about something. And if I mess it up, I mess it up. If, I move on. It's real, just like
Yeah,
if I was talking to you about it, and I
yeah.
have a brain fart or something, and just like that. So
So
yeah.
let me ask you this because I think, and I'll ask the same question to John here in a minute, but uh, like you said, you kind of got into it, maybe stumbled upon it, like just going down like maybe the rabbit hole of looking at movies and then saying or videos that were like, oh, I could do this, I could talk film, whatever. But I mean, we all three grew up in the '80s and the '90s when like the VHS boom was like going off and was crazy. All that stuff was like available at your local VHS,
Hmm.
shops, all the local places. You can go into, big box stores and find stuff too.
Yeah.
Were you aware of all these boutique label companies that really are releasing a lot of the movies that we grew up with, or did you stumble upon that after you started joining the community and seeing this?
Well, I guess the first boutique one I ever heard of was Criterion, and I heard of Criterion back in the late '80s when it was Laserdisc, and it was kind of the top of the jewel as far as media. Like if you had a Laserdisc player and a disc, it was the top. So my grandpa had these magazines called like Video Review, and it talked about TVs, media stuff, and they would have reviews of stuff, and every month they would have a couple laser discs. So I started, thumbing through these, and he had a whole stack of them. So I just started reading up on it, and by then I was already into, older movies. So it was just like, man, I got to get a Criterion, But the players back then was like, anywhere from, you know, $400 or $500 all the way up to, $2,000 or more. And I saved up money. I think it was summer of '92, and I went to Circuit City in Louisville, put one on layaway, and um, paid on it. I would like save my lunch money. I would birthday money, anything I could scrounge up. I think I would sell some like other things I had. And I finally got it, and then Columbia House actually at the time had a Laserdisc club along with um, VHS club and CD club and all that, and I got I got Star Wars letterbox, I got the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly letterbox, all that. But the first Criterion I got was A Night at the Opera, the Marx Brothers, and it was pretty cool because it had Leonard Maltin did a commentary on it and stuff, and it was pretty cool. So, and actually got that Akira, man. I got that when it first came out. There was this company in Massachusetts, and it was mail order, and they had it on sale for $99. Now that sounds crazy, but retail was $124 for one movie. So I don't know how I did it, but I got that, and I thought that was just the most valuable piece of thing I owned at the time. You know what I mean? And so, but other than that, Criterion was in my mind until probably I'm trying to think when the next ones would be, like Arrow and stuff like that. Mainly Criterion, though. They were my gateway to know that there was something a little bit different market, different level of movies and stuff. But I liked all genres, but I just kind of gravitated towards that.
Okay, awesome. So obviously, John, I want to ask you the same thing. You and I have talked, off camera and even on camera, and I wanted to ask you what your thoughts were. Like, how did you get to where you're at today? What was kind of like the gateway for you to get to doing content? And then once you start doing content, it's not just Titanic and Gone in 60 Seconds and all these movies. It's like the boutique, labels out there and all that. Like, how did you get from just going to like your Walmart and seeing what's on the shelves to what you have to kind of look off the beaten path to get to where we're at today?
Well, kind of to start out with, how did I start my YouTube channel? For years, I never really watched YouTube at all. And what got me started into watching YouTube, believe it or not, is what's always been kind of a I like to watch Big Brother. It's kind of excuse me, I've had a brain fart myself right now, but I got into it by watching Big Brother live streamers, people who do Big Brother coverage and talk about Big Brother afterwards. Like Rob has a podcast and stuff like that. Rob Cisternino, which Rob Cisternino was a contestant on. He wasn't a contestant on Big Brother. He was a contestant on the other one. What's the one where they're outdoors? I can't remember the.
Great Amazing Race.
No,
Survivor.
Survivor. He was a contestant on Survivor, but he started live streaming.
Survivor.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know why I'm brain farting today bad, but I'm brain farting bad today.
I'm Mr. Brain Fart.
That's constantly. But I started watching that stuff, and then I kind of started finding other like-minded channels, and it kind of finally got me into more of the pop culture stuff like Nerd Erotic and people like that channels. And I really didn't watch YouTube heavily till a couple of years ago, start really getting into it. And it was probably the end of the pandemic last year when I was like, that's after I'd already, after I was just sitting around. I was like, man, I think I can do this. I just want something to do. I'm bored. I'd like to try to put out some content. I said, I know I'm not going to be very good at it. I don't have the gift of gab, so I'll try it anyways. I think I can do some collecting. And then you get on there and you find that there's so many collectors out there, just, but that's cool. Watch your content if you can get the subs, that's what I'm working on now, is getting plenty of subs. But but I really, the first couple of months on YouTube, I wasn't doing things right. Like, you've helped me out a little bit with the hashtagging and stuff. So I really feel like my channel is just a week old, the way I've where I fixed everything and starting to get views now. So
That's
hopefully
pretty good,
things will
yeah.
start picking up.
Your first week and you got some live stuff and everything. That's pretty good.
But yeah. But I mean, I've been on here since January. I just wasn't doing things the correct way.
Oh, okay.
As far as hashtagging, I didn't know you didn't. I watched some videos on it, and I never could find the right videos explaining things the correct way. But as far as collecting goes and getting into boutique collecting, I was the same way. With really, Criterion was the first for me, but like I was telling you the other day, I wasn't really aware much of a laser disc. Nobody I knew even had a laser disc player, and I knew nothing about it. The first time I ever heard about the laser disc was some friends or some neighbors of mine. They had their grandchildren used to come down every summer, and I used to play with them in the summertime. And one of my friends, he told me, said my stepdad, he's got a Monty Python and the Holy Grail on laser disc. And I was like, what the heck's a laser disc? And that was probably when I was 8, 9 years old. I didn't even know what it was, because nobody, like I said, nobody had one. And so, so kind of fast forward to, DVD, 98, when I started collecting DVDs, then I started seeing Criterion. But believe it or not, I didn't own a lot of Criterion on DVD. I had some, like Fear and Loathing, Las Vegas, some of the big titles.
Mm-hmm.
But until I got into Blu-ray collecting, that's when I really started buying a lot of Criterion and started getting it. I have probably 152. I don't have a ton, but they're just they're like a lot of other boutique companies, except for Kino. They're expensive, But Kino Lorber is my favorite boutique company.
Oh yeah, they're great.
They do, and they don't really charge a lot for their product. You can get them for $20 down to, I bought them for 10, and some of the sales they have are really good.
Oh yeah. Well, with Criterion, you can get I think 3 times a year they do the Barnes and Noble half off, and that's really the only time I get any new blue from them, because they're so $40 for a movie. I gotta really love it to pay $40. So.
Well, at Barnes and Noble, they have them marked up crazy prices. Like, you don't want to buy them at full price. They're like $40-$50. So you have to wait till the half price to even buy them at a normal price.
Yeah.
But how much? But Criterion there for a while, you could get them through Amazon for $20 or $22, and then they jumped up back up to like $27, $28 this year.
They're all over the place, like in prices, 24, 27. There's a couple of things I want now, and they're like 27, and I'm just, and then another one you'll look and it's like $49, and it's just a regular title, and you're wondering like, where's all these prices coming from? So I don't know, like you said, Kino, I really like Kino because they just got tons of like movies from the 70s and 80s that you've never heard of or you forgot about, and stuff like that. So I don't know, Criterion, it's gosh, I don't know how many I got, but I don't know, I'll think about it. I'm having a brain fart, so but
yeah, I don't have a ton. I got probably 150, over 152, not a ton of them.
Yeah.
But I probably got, I don't know, a couple hundred Kinos, but I got some arrows. I don't have a ton of arrows the same way as Criterion. They're expensive, and a lot of them are imported, so the prices they're hard to get without paying a lot of money for them.
Do you have a Region B player?
No.
Yeah, man, you got to invest in a Region B Blu-ray player, because then you can get stuff from the UK and other countries that are region locked here, and you can play stuff like Arrow and Indicator and stuff like that are all Region B. So if you try to play their disc on a regular one, it won't play because it's region locked. So
yeah, I've known about them for years, but I kind of refused to buy them. One,
Yeah, I was too, but man, it's the best thing I could ever done because now the doors are open to anything, anything you want to buy now because everything's playable now. So
you have to send me some recommendations on a good one, because if you go on Amazon, you don't never know what's good or what's real. Or actually, I try to look at the reviews, but
yeah, I actually got one on eBay, and it's a Sony, and it's good. What they do is they don't actually make Region B players. Mm-hmm. What they do is they remanufacture them. They put that little chip or little thing in it. So they'll take a brand new Blu-ray player and they'll mod it, basically, and then sell it. It's brand new, but they've just modded it and stuff. And that's the only way you can get it. But I think it has like a limited warranty on it and everything, but I haven't had any problems with it.
What I do have, and it's not up and going right now, is I have a computer with a Blu-ray drive in it, and I could possibly make it a Region B player. I might be able to lock it into Region B mode only.
Yeah.
Some of them allow you to do that, and some of them don't. But it's an LG; it might allow me to do that. The computer's not going right now, so I don't know if it'll work or not. But no, I have a couple indicators. One indicator is region free, and the other one I just bought recently that John Wayne set.
Oh yeah.
It's not a full set. It's region B locked and.
Yeah. But
I bought it anyway.
Yeah, it's really cool because it's like for the example, UK, they have all these like little off-brand labels, like a movie that's not available here, like some rare title or something. Some company in the UK will have it, and it's just like, man, I can get that, and they only want $12 for it, and shipping's only $2. It's like, really? I'll take it. It's brand new, and it's it's a DVD or sometimes Blu-rays, but you find these really cool deals because sometimes they're cheaper actually. So it's kind of cool, So it just have a lot of possibilities once you get one and stuff. But I'm wanting to eventually get a 4K player. I don't have a 4K player yet, but then then they got the 4K region free and stuff, and that would be probably $400 or $500 or something. And
Well, I think I talked about it on a video last week. I haven't ever looked it up. I thought 4K was supposed to be completely region free, which I think they said the same thing about Blu-rays, but that didn't come true. But that didn't come to fruition. But
see, I'm not sure because I mean, if I get a 4K player, I'll want to put it like in my living room where I have the surround sound and stuff, and then. Instead of having like a region B player and a 4K player, it'd be like, man, I just have, just to save space. But, I don't know. You could have the two of them hooked up, but I don't know. So.
Yeah, my understanding is the 4K players are region free across the board. That's what I've read up on and what I've heard multiple people who already have 4K players have said. Like they can they can get 4K, from other countries or whatever, other distributors, and it will play on any 4K player. So I don't have one. That's just what my understanding is of it is.
Okay.
So since we're kind of talking a little bit about this, I brought a couple questions to my mind. I was going to ask. I'll start again with Mike first, and then go over to John. We're talking about the different kind of boutique companies that are out there. Do you and I know John already mentioned it. He said Kino Lorber is probably his go-to or his favorite one. What are you most excited about, Mike, when you see a new release from every month? What company do you look forward to seeing release what films? Like, who do you have like a top one or two companies that you look forward to seeing what they're going to send out month to month?
I'm always curious to know what there's also another British company called Eureka Masters of Cinema. They have a lot of cool variety and stuff, but not so much recently. But I think the answer to that I think would just be like Kino and Arrow. Yeah, I mean it's kind of a gamble. Probably Kino. I mean, Kino really does have the variety and stuff. It's really cool.
What about you? What about you, John? I mean, obviously you already talked about Kino, but do you have another company that you like to follow and get excited about?
Yeah, it's Kino mainly. I like to see if Kino's gonna. I like their multi-pack sets they release. They've been releasing. They have like it's different. They have different actors like D.N. Durbin and people like that, or Rock Hudson, and then they have the best of the Western sets, and they have different sets like that. I really like seeing come out, and their individual titles are hard to beat as well. But but I don't want to see them get into doing too many bad movies. I know they released Cool as Ice here this past month, and that movie sucks. That Vanilla Ice movie. Riff Tracks did it, and they rip it to shreds. I mean, it's just it's a horrible movie. I just don't want to see them doing stuff like that, just because.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of like to see it restored because it's kind of a colorful movie for the '90s, early '90s. Kind of like that, but it's a bad movie.
Yeah, I was listening to another guy's channel, and he's a big Sylvester Stallone fan, and he made a movie with Dolly Parton in 1983 called Rhinestone, where he's playing a country singer, and it's like one of the worst movies because he really tries to sing and stuff. But I haven't seen it since I was a little kid. I wouldn't mind getting it. And watching it just because I saw some scenes and it was really hilarious, but it's supposedly really a horrible movie also, but so.
I mean, I think that's a struggle. I think that's a struggle that we as film fans, because John's saying like Cool as Ice, I never, that movie sucks. But then I saw somebody do a review of it, and that they were saying that actually they really enjoyed it for whatever the reasons. I'm not here to defend it or anything. But there's a market out there for all kinds of stuff, like Troll 2. That's like the best worst movie ever made. That kind of stuff. Like I wanted to hate that movie because everybody talked about how great that movie is because how bad it is. So the first time I ever saw it, I was ready to hate it, just because I wanted to be that guy that's like, I'm not following everybody else. Like this is gonna suck. And then I ended up watching it, and I freaking loved it. I thought it was hilarious. It was so bad. It was all the stuff they said about it was true. So I think that there's always a market for different stuff out there. And I agree. Like I like what John was saying. I agree. I don't want them to go too far down a rabbit hole where they're just like scraping any kind of barrel they can get to find content. But I think if people buy it, obviously there's a market for it. If they release a Blu-ray or a 4K, and they make 20,000 units or whatever, and they sell like 20% of that, probably not anybody interested in that stuff. They probably hopefully move away from it and go somewhere else. So go ahead.
I mean that movie's not bottom of the barrel, but it's just you already got vinegar syndrome for that. But because
I don't think it's. I think what it is there's some movies that are just so bad that there's some redeemable stuff about it, even if it's just for a laugh. But I wouldn't go out and pay $40 for it or anything like that. But
I'll buy the Kino release of it. I'm gonna buy it. I have it ordered, but it's just
There's Jason. There's a good documentary about Troll 2. I don't know if you've ever seen. I think I saw it on Netflix or something. It's really good.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So let me ask
I
you
might
all
have
this.
seen it. That might be how I became aware of it. But
yeah.
I had some friends of mine who used to. I guess they still do a radio. They used to do what we consider a podcast nowadays, but they were doing it back when they called it a radio show, like literally 2000 and I don't know 5. They were doing way before what we consider. They were doing a horror talk radio show, and they're the ones that first brought it to my attention years ago. They're actually from Kentucky as well, which is crazy. But have either one of you ever heard of the podcast / website called Dead Pit?
I don't think I've heard of it.
Okay.
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, they're here on YouTube also, and I'm gonna probably get them on sometime because we go all the way back, like I said, like going on 15 years longer. But anyways, they're the ones that first introduced me to Troll 2 because I'd never heard of it or whatnot. I remember watching the first Troll, whatever, 1988 or whenever it first came out. But anyways, I did want to ask
the
you
movie
all.
The Pit.
Yeah. And then there's also a horror movie called Dead Pit, but that's not what this is at. This is, but yeah.
Sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No. It's fine. It's we
feel like Alex Jones here. I'm talking over top of you.
I did want to ask you all. So in the past, let's say since January, because we could do this all day long. But since January, what has been the biggest release you're excited about, or not biggest, but most excited release you were wanting to look forward to seeing, and then you got it, and it was not what you thought it was. You're disappointed in it for whatever the reason.
I guess I haven't. There was one I was looking forward to a lot, and I got it recently. The new 4K Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It's got a regular Blu-ray transfer on there too, but it's good. I was anticipating that since January, but it's good. I don't think I have a bad situation so far with anything I've really wanted. But yeah, that's a good release. That's on Kino also. Yeah, it's a Kino 4K.
Yeah, I didn't buy that one because I'm not. I don't know. I just did. I kind of want to wait for the whole trilogy to be put on 4K. I'd rather buy it as a trilogy 4K, instead of individual. Because I've got several of their other Clint Eastwood releases. Separately, and they're pretty nice, but
those are good.
Buy that one again because I've already got like several different versions of it.
Yeah.
So what about you, John? Was there a movie that came out that you're excited about, but then once you got it, you're kind of like underwhelmed, maybe either with the transfer or maybe the special features or something? You're like, oh, really? This is it?
Well, I haven't got anything big since January. If you let me go back one more month to the 1st of December,
sure,
it was the Lord of the Rings 4K, and I wasn't very satisfied with that. I mean, it looked all right, but it didn't blow me away. And two, they didn't come with any special features at all. The appendices didn't come with them. And they're supposed to be releasing it again this year sometime, a big box set of the whole thing, The Hobbit and it all together, but I haven't heard anything about it.
So that's what they do. That's what they do, man. They did that the first time with the Lord of the Rings trilogy. They did all the regular versions, then they came out with the extended versions, and then they came out with the big boxes, and so the next wave will be the ones with all the special features and stuff, documentaries.
Yeah. Well, I bought it because I hadn't seen it. I hadn't watched it in a while. And I wanted to see it in 4K, and I wanted the steelbooks, and I bought them on the steelbook. So I was a little disappointed in that. But yeah, it's like these sets here.
Oh yeah,
the nice ones. DVDs. Yeah. And I have it on Blu-ray DVD. I'll buy it.
Those are still good packaging. That was back when DVD. The industry really liked DVD and got behind it and stuff. And there's some really good packaging between 2003 and 2009. You'll find some really nice packaging and stuff.
Yeah. As far as this year's going, I can't think of. I haven't really got anything big this year so far. I've had to slow up on my spending, so where I'm on. So
we all talked about, and I agree about the financial aspect of buying, DVD, whatever, Blu-ray at 4K, and where everybody I've always felt like that $20 is kind of like everybody's like sweet spot for most releases. But we talk about, it could get to be $30 and $40 on some releases or whatnot. Do you ever think if you're spending that kind of money, no matter if it's $20 or $40 or higher, that when you get a movie, do you ever feel like it has to have more than just the film to feel like it's worth the money you're spending on it? Because I feel like sometimes we've alluded to that just now, that a lot of these companies will like nickel and dime the collectors or whatever to death because they'll release it. They'll release just the film, then they'll release just a transfer version, then they'll release a special edition, then they'll release a collector's edition. And I mean, at some point you have to say enough's enough. but some people are completists and they got to just keep going. I mean, for me, if I'm going to spend $20+ on like a brand new movie, I want to get as many bells and whistles as I can get on their commentaries, behind the scenes featurette, revisiting this or go there, essays here, whatever. Like, I don't want to spend $25 and then all I get is a trailer and the movie.
Yeah. No, I agree. Especially with Criterion, a couple of times I really wanted the movie, but they were very skimpy on a couple of things, and it tugs at you, but you're just like, man, I don't know. Like if you're deciding between two, that would be the deal breaker. It's like, well, I'm going to go with this one. I'll come back to this one later and get it, but today I'm going to go with the loaded one. Just if you're on a cash, spending, what do you call it?
Budget.
Yeah, budget. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, I mean I agree with that. Yeah.
Would you say the same thing, John?
Before I move on, I do have one that did come out this year that I was looking forward to. Was Pump Up the Volume, the Christian Slater movie.
Oh yeah,
I was a big fan of that movie. It was just a studio release. Not really. I don't think it had any special features. The transfer wasn't that insanely great. It was a little bit better than DVD, and I was really disappointed in it.
Oh, okay.
It pisses me off because it's a movie I wanted to see really blown out and something done about it.
Yeah, the older version was what, the snapper case, the old little snapper case of it. I think I have that still.
Yeah. I don't think there's any. Yeah, that's just aggravating when they do that stuff. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I agree. So, did you want to finish up? Did you have a follow up on that, John? On the other question of like, spending your money. Talk about money's always tight for everybody. I get it. Does it stop you from maybe buying a movie if it doesn't have enough meat on the bone to make it worth your buy?
Sometimes, most of the time anymore. Like I talked about that last week with the Donnie Darko that came out.
Yes.
That price wasn't that bad for how many special features and all the extra junk that came with it. But sometimes I just want to watch the movie, and that's all I care about. There's a lot of movies I don't even listen to a lot of commentaries, to be perfectly honest, for somebody that likes movies as much as I do. I just like the movies. And I like the different versions of movies and things like that, but it don't really make a big difference in the.
Yeah.
So let me ask you about this. This is interesting because I can kind of piggyback a little bit what you said there, John, because I think for me, it depends on two things. If I'm going to watch a commentary, like really deep dive into something, but a commentary is a lot more of a commitment than like a 20-minute feature. Obviously commentary is probably an hour and a half, 2 hours long, obviously, about as long as a movie. But the thing that I think is two things. One, it depends on the movie, how much you really love that movie, right? Obviously. You're not going to watch a commentary on a movie you could care less about, more than likely. And then two, who's the one doing the commentary? Because if it's the director, I'm interested immediately. If it's a movie I'm interested in already. But if it's like the director of photography and like three of the minor leads or something, or like the producer, I don't care. I don't really care what they have to say about it. But if it's the director and like obviously if the main star they get the main star of the movie or something, I'm more inclined to want to hear that. Like one of the things I think of is like Big Trouble in Little China, where they had John Carpenter and Kurt Russell do theirs. Man, that was awesome. Like that commentary, you can even hear Carpenter smoking weed on that thing. I mean, it was just crazy. Like, they're just kicked back, relaxed, talking about the movie, whatever. So I like that kind of stuff. But if it's like I don't have any interest in Spice World, like they're talking about that, I have no interest in that. So do you go back, Mike, and listen to commentaries on certain films, or where are you at with that?
Yeah, I do usually. I'm a camera nut. I kind of like cinematography, cinematographers and the history of all the, different. I feel like the camera is like this, so I'm kind of, depending on, I'm like, so dependent so depending on who the person is, it's cool, but if it's John said, it's the movie, it counts the most, so but yeah, that's an extra perk, especially a good one like John Carpenter he's always a good, person doing commentaries and stuff, and so yeah. And there's some commentators that do stuff. Like there's somebody named Kim Newman. He does a lot of good commentaries, and can't think of them now. But there's some that when you spot that name, you're like, oh, okay, I do want to hear what they say, So I don't know. It just varies,
What I like over commentaries. I'm not a big commentary person, but I like good documentaries. Movies that come with a documentary made about the making of the movie or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Because all these Mystery Science Theaters, like when Shout Factory took over, Ballyhoo came on board, and they made all kinds of documentaries on it. And they made documentaries on the filmmakers who made some of those movies, and like almost every disc has a Ballyhoo documentary on it. A short documentary.
They make good short documentaries, yeah.
And
yeah. I mean, obviously, like for me, I mean, I know, I'm sure you all feel the same way, especially talking about special features, is that if it's a movie, especially from the 80s or 90s, I really like the special features because it talks a lot about, that process during that time. During that time we were all growing up in, and like they'll reference other movies or other social commentaries that were going on during that time and like how it affected the movie and things like that. To me, I enjoy that because it brings you it brings you insights, a little peek behind the curtain, if you will, that you might not normally get on an hour and 45-minute movie. You just watch it to be entertained. But sometimes it could be a double-edged sword because then they're telling you things that you weren't looking for, and then they tell you, they're like, oh yeah, now I see that. And they're like, so.
Yeah, I think one of the most famous commentaries is the very first Criterion release. It was King Kong back in 1984 on Laserdisc, and it's one of the more famous commentaries because I think it's the first one, I believe, and it's really informative. Like people talk about it all the time, bring it up all the time. So depending on what it is, I think
Is King Kong the first Criterion? Was it the first Criterion?
Yeah, number one.
It was number one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that. That's it. I don't have a ton of Laserdisc Criterion. I've probably got 100 maybe. Yeah.
So there's a question here. Let me ask. It says, if you guys could make a film or a TV show, what type would you make? For Chris, it would be something to do with history. So if you had the option, we'll go again with you, Mike. If you had the opportunity to make a film, what kind of film or TV show would you make?
Probably something in the like noir, kind of a mystery edge, maybe something like that. I don't know, something that we don't see a lot of, like a TV show or a movie.
Whichever. He just is asking whichever you prefer. Like, what would you like to see made? You would make.
I would make probably like a noir movie of some sort. Right. Something that's kind of seedy and got some mystery, got some different characters, flavor, different mixture of characters, and something like Quentin Tarantino does, but not like Quentin Tarantino. You know how he's got memorable characters, like if I could write like that, but I can't, I don't profess being a writer, so.
What about you, John? What would be something you'd like to see you'd like to make on your own?
Probably a Western. I like Westerns, and I mean, I know there's been a million of them made, but I'd like to, I don't know. I'm a big fan of Wes Anderson, maybe like a good comedic Western. And
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
Sorry, my dogs are barking. But no, I was going to say Western. I'm a big Western fan too, but maybe a mystery Western of some sort. I don't know, something a little bit different though.
Let me find it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
But,
for me personally, I would like to make a movie that would be back in the 80s type of movie where you still could get away with things that people would not be overtly offended or whatever. Like you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't even care what the genre is. You can pick the genre, but movies with the gloves off, no, not handcuffed, just a balls out action movie, a balls out horror movie. I would just like to see that kind of movie come back to the cinema or a TV show because nowadays there's so many landmines you gotta navigate through without worrying about offending. That's why I like mostly older movies because modern day movies just don't speak to me anymore. So I'd rather watch a movie that was filmed in 1987 that's probably most people would consider crap, opposed to running and going to see Black Widow in the theater next month because that's the hottest new thing in the market. I want to see movies that actually, in my personal opinion, are a lot more realistic, a lot more like true to life, opposed to desensitized or whatever. So
there needs to be another like rebirth of cinema, like when Tarantino in the early 90s, maybe late 80s, kind of that new wave of like filmmakers came. And for most of the 90s, you had a lot of interesting movies and stuff. And there's still the big independent market in indie films. There's tons of indie films now because anybody can make a film on their camera now. But I don't know, it just needs to be reinvented. And people are going to have to, I don't know, give the middle finger, man, to some of this stuff, and just be original and do what they want to, because what if it's a book? If it's a book and they want to do a screenplay based on a book, it is what it is. It's art, it's not, political debate. It's a.
But if you think about it, and I'm, and I don't want to go too far off the rails because I don't want to put you on a situation where you're like not want to say anything or uncomfortable, but you got to think like in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, filmmakers were encouraged or encouraged each other to push the envelope. That was the whole idea of cinema was to put out a thought, an idea, a revolution in some respects, in a lot of ways, like Easy Rider, things like that.
Yeah.
They kind of put a finger up to the establishment. And and then now, if you, like you said, to have a studio or a director or a group of people to do that, they would be almost petrified, worried about the backlash. Well, back then they welcomed it. They were like, we know this is going to piss people off. We're okay with that because we want to get this. That's my vision. It doesn't have to be your vision, but that's the vision I want to get out there. And either people are going to like it or they don't. Guess what? That's what the greenbacks are about. They're the ones that are going to tell you if they like it or not. But I think now we have so many people worried about, if their vision is going to be offensive, you have this very, I don't know, very desensitized, I don't know, sanitized, sterile look through this very like small keyhole of what can be put out there in the world. And so I think, I think that to me, that's why I was saying a minute ago, go back to why I like the older films for that very reason.
I think the 1970s are my favorite decade of movies. Like you said, you hit it on the nail. It's just all the freedom they had and stuff,
Right. So. And the studios are willing to take a chance. The studios are willing to put it out there. You know what I'm saying?
You guys go down
they took a chance, What was that? I'm sorry.
Did you guys go down? Did you go down on your end? I completely blipped out there for a second. All three of us.
I'm good right now.
Okay, I'm back.
Yeah, sometimes it does that.
Yeah.
So
I'm okay.
Somebody in the chat mentioned, I thought it was good, is like somebody like a Mel Brooks or a Don Rickles, those guys aren't going to work today. Those,
yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
you know.
Well,
it's at some point. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go
I was
ahead.
going to say at some point we forgot to laugh at ourselves and make fun of ourselves a little bit, kind of like, you know, Richard Pryor and George Carlin and stuff that, you know, made you think, but also made you laugh at the same time. And, you know, you weren't afraid to look at yourself and laugh, you know, and it's not matter what you said. I mean, I don't know. George Carlin was a big influence on me. I was exposed to him really young as a child, and he made me think. You know what could be said and done, and what not to say, and what, you know, just I don't know. That's just we don't have that no more. We don't have that freedom. I don't think, especially in stand up. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, most definitely stand up. What about you? What say you, John?
One reason I was going to say earlier, one reason that I like older movies is older movies relied on storytelling, and they didn't have to rely on CGI for their crutch to stand on. You had to rely on good storytelling to encapsulate your audience from the beginning. You didn't have to worry about going to a fight scene or something like that. That's why I like the old movies, because they'll pull you in within the first 5 minutes, and there's nothing, you know, a lot of times it'll be a drama or something, and then it's just you don't want to turn the movie off.
So with that being said, what has been a movie that you all watched recently that you didn't know much about? Maybe you kind of heard about it, you know, through word of mouth or through a video or somebody talking about it. You yourself haven't seen it, but you watched it and you were really blown away by it.
Oh man, the guy that made Bone Tomahawk, his other movie, the prison movie. Crap, what's it called?
Was it before Bone Tomahawk or after?
I think it was after. It was right after it.
I've seen it. I've seen Bone Tomahawk, but not seen.
It's got Vince Vaughn in it. Oh no, wait a minute. Scratch that. There's a movie called Arkansas. It's a new movie. I didn't think it was going to be what it was. It was on for about 15 minutes, and there's this one character, and I was thinking, oh man, is he going to be just like this all through the movie? This isn't going to be that great. And then it just started pulling you in and in and in, and it was like at the end of the movie, you're just like, man, you know what I mean? I haven't felt that way in a while, you know. And it was really good. It's called Arkansas. And Vince Vaughn actually is in that too. So he's been getting around in some really good movies lately. So,
yeah.
What about you, John? Has there been a movie that you hadn't heard much about and caught your eye, and you're like, I'll give it a shot, and you were blown away? You're like, hey, this is actually a really great movie.
Off the top of my head, I'm trying to think. I mean, many movies have been like that. Not the problem is not a lot of, you know, I found out a lot of movies on my own, not from people. I just don't travel in groups like that anymore who are big into movies and stuff like that. So I usually find them on my own just by, you know, watching the old stuff. And I don't know, just lately I've been watching some of those old. I got one of these box sets that has like Cagney movies on James Cagney and Bogart, and it's got Edward G. Robinson movies, and the Edward G. Robinson movie was a comedy, and it was hilarious. I mean, yeah. I'm sorry I'm not answering your question that well, but
no, dude, there's no big deal at all.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head something good, but
I found this one recently. It's Gangsters Volume 3, and it's got Cagney and Robinson, all of them. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's Volume 3.
It's probably about the same stuff that I have on mine. You know.
Yeah,
but a lot of them are like prison movies. One of mine is San Quentin. that's a good movie. You know, they're just basic movies, but of the day, but it's just a really good story. You know.
Yeah. Even though they were turned out like, clockwork, but they were good. They just had good stories and good performances, and so.
Did I talk about that before? Like people, some of these directors, these B directors, you don't necessarily have it anymore. I know there's a lot of B movies made now, but back in the day, you had some like great artists who end up, like Bud Bedecker and people like that. There's a lot more. They were just factory directors for the studios. I mean, all they did is cranked out movie week after week, and they just didn't get much recognition. And their stuff is just, A quality and a B with B actors and B production, and it's just, you don't have that anymore. That's my problem with a lot of modern horror. I'm not like a big horror person because it's just kind of filmmaking for the sake of making a movie for the sake of making a movie. It's not like it's not somebody trying to be Hitchcock or something, Yeah. And there's no problem with it. It's no problem with that. It's just like it's kind of mindlessness in a way,
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Some newer horror movies. There's just so many of them, and some of them tend to be predictable, but I like a good horror movie, like when one really good one comes along. Like, I think when was the series with Annabelle, but the first, what was the beginning of it with the couple?
Insidious or
no, it was
Conjuring. I don't know.
The Conjuring.
I don't. Is it The Conjuring?
The Conjuring, that's it. Yeah, I thought when those came out, it's like me and my wife kind of got into going to the movies again. It was like, yeah, we want to go see it, have a date night, and you look forward to the next one and stuff.
Sure.
But
I've noticed. So let me ask you this. It is a good segue because as I've gotten older, because obviously y'all don't know much about my history, but prior to doing the YouTube stuff, I was helping out with a website / podcast channel years ago that we did mostly horror movies. And I was a huge horror movie fan throughout my young years, my formative years through my 20s. But then and even I would say even maybe in the early 30s, but now that I'm in my 40s, I've just kind of like lost my desire to watch horror movies because I'd watch any kind of horror movie that come down the lane, But kind of like what you said, Mike, like it has to be something above the most common lowest denominator for me to watch it now. Like it's a good story, a good atmosphere. There needs to be a lot more to it. What is that? Avalanche Shark? Yeah, exactly. It needs to be a little bit better than Avalanche Shark. So, my taste, what I'm saying there is my taste has grown over the years, in my opinion, and has changed that I don't seek that kind of movie out anymore. Like somebody has to tell me, hey, this is like, a movie that you need to watch because it reference a movie from the past or something. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I'll give it a look. Has your own taste in cinema changed where you were really into a certain type of movie or genre or a director, and then over the years you're just like, man, like I don't really doesn't do much for me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess as we get older, our time is more precious. So if we're going to waste, maybe not say waste, but if we're going to pay, especially go to the movies, and we're going to pay money and see something for 2 hours, we want to, be worth it, Sure. And even at home, wasted time, I could be watching something else, but, well, like M. Night Shyamalan, he started out real good, with, like he started out with all these movies, and then he started kind of going down and stuff, and kind of lost his edge because they were saying he was the next Hitchcock or something,
right?
And stuff. And then I'm not really sure. Maybe they just don't cover him as much. Maybe I haven't seen any of his movies lately, but
I like that last one, the final. that last one he did with it was kind of the culmination of Unbreakable and
Oh yeah,
like Spiral. What's it called?
Was it Glass?
Glass.
Yeah.
Was it called Glass? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah,
that was all right.
Yeah. What for me? One of the movies one of the directors. I kind of go back to what you're saying, Mike. A director that I would like watch everything he did and thought I might not like every single thing about every movie he did, but I felt like he was releasing really good movies, and then all of a sudden, just that he fell off the cliff. It was Kevin Smith. Like I just love Kevin.
Yeah.
I just thought he did like so many great movies, and then like he took a break or whatever happened, and then he came back, and he just been making like, in my personal opinion, just like a crappy movie after crappy movie after crappy movie. And I don't know if it's just because it's just a paycheck. He just coming in for a paycheck. Has he been like bankrupt? You know, as far as his like his ideas, he has bankrupt ideas now. He can't think of anything. I don't know, but it's just kind of like, what happened, dude? Like you had such a finger on the pulse of the '90s and of that type of mentality. And even when he did Clerks 2, you know, that was great. I'm like, okay, this is a progression of a story. It makes sense. And then he would make stuff like
Bob movie's pretty good.
Yeah, the reboot. Jay and Silent Bob reboot's okay.
Yeah, I got
but then he was
reboot. I
making
haven't
stuff like
watched it.
Tusk and Yoga Hosers, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I've
got a signed copy of Yoga Hosers.
Yeah, I had a question mark on that one. I was like, But yeah, I think after he did Jersey Girl, he just kind of dropped off. I mean, maybe it's a hard, you know, and it does have George Carlin in it, but it was a change. You know, it was a change in his style. It was less raunchy, or was less. Maybe it wasn't Jersey Girl. Maybe he lost it maybe after that, but.
There was some point when he moved to California. He moved away from Jersey. Like his wife wanted him to move to California at some point.
Yeah.
And when he went out there, he just got woke as hell. And his daughter's part of the reason he's woke. His daughter's woke as hell. She's a big vegetarian and just always spouting political opinions. And
yeah, he lost a lot of weight. He
almost died. He had like a widowmaker heart attack. So I'm assuming he would stop eating double cheeseburgers and milkshakes if that almost killed you. So but still, like to your point, John, like he kind of went extreme on the other end of it now. So you know,
but I think
that's a lot of bad opinions and stuff like that. It's like, come on, man, you know what was in your, you know the kind of material you used to put in your movies. That's not the way you think and feel. Yeah, I mean, people can change, but not that much, you know.
I just think they shouldn't make their, you know, political or whatever their views are, not keep it separate somehow from their movies, because it kind of blends over. So it's like you might not want to watch anything with Kevin Smith because of just how, you know, if he says something, you know, crappy in the media somehow, and you know, and you used to respect him or something, and now because of his political leanings you don't really like his movies anymore or something, you know what I mean? So
I mean, you can just do
crying crap.
What'd you say? The crying?
Started that crying, like he gets on, he does some of his YouTube stuff, and he'll like review a movie and he cries, like for some reason, like something like from his past, like he gets sentimental, but he's got this thing stick where he cries now with everything.
Yeah, I remember. I know what you're talking about because I saw him do like a Avengers Endgame recap or something, and like he's talking about like, you know, the actual movie, like certain lines in the movie that like Spider-Man's saying or Iron Man's saying. And then he starts choking up, and then he cries for like 20 minutes. You're right. I remember thinking like that's kind of weird. Like he goes on this whole like crying tangent, but he does. I have heard that he does that more frequently on like movies and things. And I'm like, maybe that's like, you know, maybe that's like the new Quentin Tarantino thing with women's feet. Like he just has a thing for it now. Like that's just like a part of what he does. So
I don't know.
But I don't know. But I think we all can agree, since we talked about older movies, a lot of those directors were pretty extreme in their views back then, but they did a good job of working their views into their movies, but they weren't banging your head over it. They were being sneaky about their views. So it was there if you wanted it, and if you didn't look for it, it wasn't. No, you didn't have to see it. But you know that it was there, kind of like what George Romero was doing with Night of the Living Dead. You know, like it's an allegory. You could say that's fine, but if you wanted to just enjoy it as a horror movie, you can enjoy it as a horror movie. But if you're looking for the deeper subtext of it, it's also there for that. You know, but George, Romero wasn't on there like this is my my FU to the American government about Vietnam. He wasn't doing that. You know, and I think nowadays, like to John's point, we have movie makers that are trying to shove down, their views onto the audience because they think they're too stupid to figure it out from watching their films.
Yeah.
Well, being anti-war, there's nothing wrong with being anti-war. The problem is the mainstream media and you got all these clowns that are pro-war because it's apparently it's now they're pro-war after all these years. After having George W. Bush in office, they're pro-war after talking bad. It's the weird. I don't want to go any further into it, but that's the mentality we're dealing with.
So Chris asked this question, or not a question, but made a statement I thought was interesting. So are we ready for another National Treasure with Nicolas Cage, Part 3?
I don't know. I at the time I was ready for a 3. I really liked the first and second one. I really enjoyed those. I thought they were good. But I don't know now. I don't know where his mental state is, but he might be able to pull it off for the right amount of money.
Right. Oh my gosh, it is crazy to think of like how extreme Nicolas Cage has went from like early to mid 2000s to 2017 on, 18 on,
Well,
like
the 90s, how big he was. He was big in the 90s,
Oh
he
yeah,
was big in the 90s. He was so big. He was going to be he was being considered to be Superman.
Right.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, if you think about some of the movies he did, like Adaptation, and the National Treasure movies, and even Ghost Rider. I mean, he was like in
Leaving Las Vegas.
Leaving Las Vegas. I mean, like movies that were like in just about 10, 12 years ago were like huge movies. I mean, like he was the star of these movies. It wasn't like it was 30, 40 years ago. We're talking about a decade and change. And now he's doing movies where it's like, hey, I need you to read this phone book for the next 2 hours and just go to town reading the phone book. He's like, all right, where's the paycheck? I'll read this phone book.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
I got a
movie. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I got a movie of his recently, The Color of Space.
Oh,
that's what I was just going to ask. Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet, so I don't know. I've heard some different stuff. I know the director is in like a lot of hot water with something that he did years ago or something. It's like cancel culture. Like the company already kicked him out of the studio. He's done with them because of something. And I haven't even seen the movie yet, so it's like so.
It was all right. I thought it was fun.
It's so hard. I mean, and I don't know anything about that specific situation, but it's hard for me to get too riled up when I hear people say like they're going to cancel somebody when Hollywood still puts Roman Polanski up on a pedestal, So it takes a while before I get too excitable about why are we trying to cancel somebody. If you're going to let a known pedophile be shot in the upper echelon of the greatness, then I'm gonna take it with a grain of salt.
I don't really think they've ever really. I don't think his career ever really recovered in Hollywood. I mean, he's been in exile since the 70s or whatever.
He has to be. If he comes to America, he get arrested, so he has to stay in France.
Yeah,
so, I'm just saying they still celebrate him. I mean, they gave him an Academy Award for the piano. And they still let his movies play in America. They still let him win awards.
Yeah.
It's just that's my point.
It sucks too because Chinatown's like one of the one of the best movies ever made, you know, and it's
Chinatown's really good, and it's just that's where sometimes you got to just separate art and personal life, you know. It's like and then people
that's
read
my point is that I can enjoy the movie or the director or the actor or actress as long as, you know, I can enjoy their stuff. I don't let the other stuff bother me. It's like I like Michael Jackson. I know that he's probably the most creepy of all people, but I grew up with his music. And when I listen to it, I don't feel anything except the music. I'm not trying to get caught up in what he did later on life, you know. But some people can't do that. Some people it has to be joined together, and I want to separate it, you know.
Yeah, so, I mean, there was a time when we didn't know everything about everybody, every moment. You know, there was some mystery to people, and you didn't know what they did behind closed doors, and you didn't care. You know what I mean? You just say, yeah, like let's say Bruce Springsteen. Yeah, I'm a fan of Bruce Springsteen, but hey, I don't care what side of the bed he sleeps on. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Or how he brushes his teeth. I don't care about, you know.
Right.
But now it's like every single thing you do is examined and just, I don't know.
Right. So is there a specific actor, we kind of talked about, or a director that either it's modern day coming out right now in the theaters or over the years that you'll either go to the theater and watch their work, or when it gets released on Blu-ray, 4K, whatever, that you're going to pull the trigger and get no matter what?
Wes Anderson, for sure.
Wes Anderson. What about you?
As far as modern directors, for sure. Yeah.
For me, God, it's a tie between Martin Scorsese and Quentin Tarantino. I mean, Quentin Tarantino, I guess I'm always it seems like his work comes out before Martin Scorsese's work, so it's kind of like whoever comes out first. But I don't know. That's a hard one. I guess Quentin Tarantino, I would have to say, because.
But let me ask you all: have you all seen? I agree. I'm a Quentin Tarantino mark 100%. I also like Wes Anderson. I'm also Martin Scorsese, those guys too. Let me ask you all this, I mean, maybe this might be better, John. Did Wes Anderson do the Grand Budapest Hotel?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Is that any good? Because I keep seeing it, and I don't know if I should pull the trigger and buy it or not.
Yeah, it's really good.
Okay.
Good.
It's really good, like in multiple viewings. Like you see it a couple times, because there's a lot of cool stuff.
I was holding the Blu-ray.
He's one of those layered directors.
What was that? I'm sorry.
He's kind of a layered director. There's a lot of layers to his work. You can go back and read. It's got a lot of rewatchability to it.
Yeah.
I mean, because I always like the Royal Tenenbaums. That's one of my favorite movies. So, and I know he did that. And like you said, it has definitely a very strong rewatchability factor to it. So you said Wes Anderson. You're saying Quentin Tarantino. To kind of piggyback a little bit off the rewatchable, what's the movie that you go back to and watch multiple times, either a year or every couple of years, that even though you know it forwards and backwards, that you go back and revisit it?
Well, here recently, I've kind of gone back and watched the Man with No Name trilogy, Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and the Fistful of Dollars, and For a Few Dollars More, and something I watch every year would be probably some of the Vincent Price, Roger Corman movies he made in the early 60s, like Mask of the Red Death, and some of those. It's like I tend to come back to those every year. I mean, I don't know, there's a handful of them. I probably would say that too, but you know.
Okay. What about you, John?
There's all kinds of stuff. One I think about right off the top of my head is probably Giant. That's probably, somebody asked me what my favorite movie was, and it's basically impossible. I've seen so many to answer that question. Yeah. But I said, just off the top of my head, Giant's one of them. That's directed by George Stevens. It had Rock Hudson, Elizabeth Taylor, and
James Dean.
James
Dean.
Yeah.
Yep, Dean. Yeah. And it's I just love that movie.
I just live about
it's long and
45 minutes from James Dean's hometown, Fairmount, Indiana.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
go
wanna
to his.
come up
I don't
there
mean to cut
sometime.
you off, John, but we need to do it. We need to. You
Go
all
ahead.
come up here sometime, and I'll take you. I'll take you there.
Yeah, I want to
Yeah.
come there. That's a
Yeah.
before I got sick. Well, not sick, but before I had my thing, that's one of a trip I was going to make to come up there. Yeah, he's one
Yeah.
of I'm not like a
Yeah.
James Dean fanatic or nothing. I just think I'm always interested in the way he died and things like that, and
Yeah.
some of the storylines around that.
Yeah. It's
Well, it's
really cool
crazy
that.
because
Well, it's
go ahead.
cool.
I'm
It's
sorry.
in. I was going to say it's cool because it's in driving distance. Check it out. And I've never checked it out, so it's.
Yeah,
Where are you at,
it's
Mike?
I'm outside of Radcliffe, Fort Knox area.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I'm in Richmond, so I'm up around Lexington here, so
yeah, my wife's from Lexington, so just.
pretty cool.
Well, hey guys, we've done about an hour and 15 minutes. I know we talked a little bit off camera about how long we want to go, so I don't want to. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I know it's getting close to dinner and all that, so I don't want. I know people got stuff they probably got to be doing, but I mean, hopefully y'all want to do this again. I had a great time. Hopefully y'all enjoyed it yourselves.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
maybe we could try to do this every week or every other week or every month if we can't do it more 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 consistently because everybody
Yeah.
has schedules or whatnot. But yeah, man, I think it might be good if we can kind of do this and we just kind of just like we do now, just rest, or maybe we can come up with a couple of topics ahead of time and we'll just kind of talk about that. So I think it went really well. What do you all think?
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was pretty cool. Yeah. I guess like we could talk for hours, about stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, some good.
That's the reason why I want to stop it now because if not, we can just keep going and going and going.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, dude, we'll talk more offline and we'll figure out a good maybe a schedule to get on if we can or whatnot and kind of go from there. But I just want to say both thank you to John and thank you to Mike. And if you all haven't, check their channels out. Definitely go check their out. When I put this video up, I put both their links in the description so you all can get to it. And but it's Low IQ Media. And is it Dague Films or how do you pronounce that?
Dague, like dagger.
Dague. I thought I was saying it wrong. So Dague Films and Low IQ Media. Check those guys out. I'm getting to really get to want to do this more frequently with you guys. But thanks again for taking the time out of your day, guys.
Okay, no problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
all right, man. Until next time. See ya.
Yep.
See you guys later.
See ya.
See ya.